chess friends, welcome to the second day of this fascinating camp by Grandmaster Papaioannou. Today we have two lectures. We start by the second part of the exchange Slav, and then we will make the first lecture about Queen's Gambit declined. Before we start the lectures, I want just to make some clarifications from technical point of view. Since there are many questions during the lecture, be sure that Grandmaster Papaioannou sees all the questions, but it's not possible to answer everything just during the lecture because he has a lot of things to show. Therefore, if you have some recurrent and very important question that you want to ask, sometimes you can wait until the end of the lecture, and then Grandmaster Papaioannou will definitely give the chance to ask something. Also, tomorrow there will be a Q&A session in which me and Grandmaster Papaioannou we will answer all the questions. So this is just a reminder so that the lecture can be executed in more structured way. This is everything from me. I wish you to have a nice lecture. So Ioannis, you can start.
Thank you so much, dear Grigor. So let us immediately get down to business. So let's see where we left from yesterday. Bishop f4, the best move order. Knight f6, he targets e4. We start with knight is c3 first. A move order is important here, and e3. And now, we already saw this passive line, e6. We saw this passive line, g6. And now two, or maybe even you can call it three good moves for black. This move, which is very similar to this. We already mentioned here the move bishop b5. But today we will focus on the main line, queen b3. And black's most usual, and in my view, better choice here, best choice is this a6 move. However, before we continue, we need to mention one or two very rare continuations. One move here is, after e3, is this move, queen b6. You will find some players who don't usually know what to do with black playing such a move, queen b6. Now white has several ways to play. Objectively, the best move by far, as pointed out by the computer, is bishop d3. We sacrifice the pawn, and black needs to take it. If he ignores the pawn for too long, then we stabilize the position, and the move knight a4 together with queenside expansion will come with tempo. So black is forced to take here, and now we simply develop the pieces. There are already threats like knight b5. Just imagine this threat, and black will lose his castling rights. So this position is already very difficult for black. No, not much further theory is required here. For example, black can possibly play this move, then we castle. He needs to go back. And now, most likely, we will strike in the center with e4, or let's say rook b1 first. A totally different kind of game with a very strong initiative. So other moves can be playable, but the best move is bishop d3. Now, another playable move is this, bishop b5. If I may say, the second best move. The idea is similar to what we have seen already with queenside play. Bishop b5, our next move is going to be either knight e2 or usually knight f3 with very good play for white. We are out of book here. For example, a6, we take it, and I believe that by now we all can say how white should continue. A move like rook c1 or knight f3 or knight g to e2 with very nice queenside play. So this is about queen b6. Objectively, the best is bishop d3. We cannot analyze everything until the end, yes, but playable is bishop b5 as well. And of course, another playable move is this, queen d2. Intending f3, bishop d3, such ideas. For example, bishop f5, here we continue with f3, g4, and all these moves. So here we go. after there is also another important move order to be mentioned. It's this move order for black, knight c6. Be very much aware of this move order. We already mentioned that, e3. And now, an interesting plan for black, which you may even want to play as black if Slav defense is in your repertory, is this idea, knight c6 and bishop f5. Black is in fact trying to do without knight f6. So surprisingly here, the most natural move on the planet, knight c3, is not the best. Here, most players, including myself, when I had studied these positions very deeply, I would randomly play knight c3, and I did play against Alexander Belyavsky, the move knight c3. He played knight f6, which is again inaccurate, and then we got to normal theory. But the correct move is e6, and now black has a very nice idea to develop his knight here quite often. For example, we play naturally a move like queen b3. He plays bishop b4. This is very strong. And bishop b5, typical play, threatening to take the bishop on b4. But he takes it and here, and black has very strong counterplay. So we need to be careful here. I repeat, you may want to use this line also as black. So e3, bishop b5, bishop f5. This is, however, not the solution to all the problems, because the correct move for white is queen b3 first, in fact. It is important to start with this move, queen b3, and now there is no possibility to play bishop b4. There are some playable lines, like, for example, black can play this. Look at this line. Take, and check. However, we lose our castling rights. However, white is winning here. In fact, king d1, our king is comparatively safe. If you ask your computer, it already gives something like +2 for white. Black is in no time to open the position. For example, here we close it with e4. Yes, the computer, if you put this position, it will tell you that knight f3 is totally winning for white by force, if you want to memorize things. Here, surprisingly, this is winning for white by force. But if you want to avoid all these strategies, all these tactics, then you can play positionally with e4. Let's see what we do now. Block this pawn here, and then king e2, and we are better. a3, yes, such moves, king e2, we drive our king into safety, and white is better. Or if you want, you can memorize the complications. So let's see what is happening in this clever move order for black, which forces us to know what we are doing. Queen b3, objectively the best move is this. These endgames are always very bad for white. For example, after e6, we can play f3, intending g4. We can play bishop b5. The idea of bishop b5 is not, of course, to take on c6, but to block the position there and to pin this knight on c6. And then our plan is to play possibly f3, g4, develop our pieces, gain space with f3, g4 on the king side, and stuff like that. The position is not lost for black, but it's very passive and unpleasant. So after bishop f5, queen b3, black should play queen d7. Now we play knight c3. He plays e6 and knight f3. Black goes f6 now. Look, this is already totally wrong. White is almost winning after knight e5, because if black takes on e5, d takes e5, this is winning a piece. Yes, if here we are threatening the knight, and we are threatening also bishop b5. So here black needs to play f6. There is indeed some resemblance with the London without knight f6, as correctly one of the players has noted. So bishop b5, and now white has good chances to get some advantage. There is some playable moves here, like knight a4, and white is slightly better. I would say maybe even more than slightly better. But an important idea that you need to know, we must start with queen b3. Okay, so here we go now. We go to the regular move order, bishop f5 and queen b3. Now listen, in the previous session yesterday, we talked about the move bishop b5, which is very interesting in practical sense. You just play there, you don't need any theory. Knight f3, knight e5, queen a4, such ideas, and focus on the queen side. However, somebody may say, okay, I will always be playing after bishop f5, this bishop b5 move. No, the truth is you cannot always play this line. Why? Because black can possibly start with this move, bishop g4, instead of bishop f5. This move after queen b3, it's the same. Look, if he plays bishop f5, queen b3, or bishop g4, queen b3, it's the same. But here, obviously, we cannot play bishop b5. So in this position, we either enter the main line, which we will study right now, this one, or there is another possibility. If you want to play more like coffee house play, we can always play this f3 and g4 ideas. For example, here g4, or bishop d7, again g4, this kind of play. Here, yes, this is risky. For example, here and knight g2 or h4 directly, such play is risky, but playable. Somebody may say, but even isn't this f3 a very weakening move? Well, the same move, if it comes with tempo, or if it doesn't come with tempo, can be a totally different story. So in this position, if black plays bishop f5, for example, the move f3 is wrong, very slow. But if he plays bishop g4 and then f3 comes with tempo, that's a different story. So you can either play the main line with queen b3, or after bishop g4, f3 is playable. Let's go now. Here we go. Bishop f5, we play queen b3 or bishop b5. Now, knight a5 is only move. This is once again a very bad endgame. We exchange and we play a move like this, and f3, g4, white is better. And what is wrong with this move? What do you believe is wrong with this move? Who will tell us? How is white better here? I see two ways. Let's check. Very good. Very good. Bishop b5 is good, but this is even better because knight e5 comes with tempo. For example, here knight e5, black cannot take, he is losing a piece. So with d5, so queen c8, and now rook c1, the bishop will be developed either here or on e2. There is no attack against black's king, but there is very strong play on the queen side. Black can hardly move. This is a horrible position. And don't forget, we are running no risk here. So after bishop f5, let me promote this line. After bishop f5, bishop b5 is playable, but now we are talking about this move, queen b3, knight a5 is pretty much only move, queen a4 check, bishop d7, and queen c2. We almost automatically reach this position. After some strange maneuvering, white managed to take over this diagonal. Then he wants to play these moves, and so black will be forced sooner or later to play e6 and again close his bishop. Now, after queen c2, there are many move orders by black, many moves, many lines. Let's try to categorize them. We cannot memorize everything, every possible move order. It's not possible. It is very impractical, and even for professional players. So let's categorize the variation. There are two types of variation for black here, two types of variations. Lines with a move knight c4 sooner or later, and lines with a move knight c6 back sooner or later. So black can start with various move orders. For example, rook c8 here, or e6 here. We don't have to memorize everything. So after rook c8, two moves are playable for white, bishop d3 and knight f3. Let me come back to that just a second. I open a new board. So here we are. So take here bishop f5 or bishop g4. It's the same. Here, queen c2. And here we go. Lines with knight c4 and lines with knight c6. For example, he plays here. Both bishop d3 and knight f3 are totally playable. Let's suppose he plays this move. Now we will play bishop d3. If they ask, what is our move almost always after knight h5? Who remembers the answer? What is our move almost always? Our move is bishop e5. This is an easy rule to remember, bishop e5. Sometimes, very rarely, bishop g5 can be the best move. However, it's better to know this particular line because there are so many possible transposons. It's better to know this particular rule because there are so many different kinds of ideas and transpositions, and it's not easy to remember in which particular one the move bishop g5 is stronger than bishop e5. So the best move is here. For example, he goes back. Our problem is not to lose this bishop. Our problem is to lose this bishop. So here we can play a move like a3, and possibly even this is playable, queen e2. But let's say we play a simple move like a3, and he takes here. As we already know, in such positions, both d takes e5 and knight takes e5 are possible. The computer usually suggests this move because now we are threatening even g4. So let's suppose we are here and he postpones taking. He goes here, we castle. For example, he plays a move like if here. Always we have good play. Who remembers after g6? For example, I will play this move just to get away, to step away. Sooner or later, we need to step away of the rook from c8. And now who remembers or who can tell us what white will play in case of short castling and what white will play in case of f5? What shall we play after this move and what shall we play after this move? This is not theory. This is something far more important, typical ideas. So after castling short, the move is e4, or if I may say, the plan is e4. I would have played e4 directly here because black's pawn is on f6. And what if he goes f5? Now I totally change plan. I see with it's visible to the naked eye. This bishop on d3 is not doing anything on d3 anymore. It is hitting on rock solid structure. However, this was made at a high cost. Black achieved to blind our bishop from d3 at a very high cost. He weakened his central squares. So now the plan changes completely. We will play here. Sooner we will capture this knight, maybe even immediately. Let's say he plays here. Maybe even immediately we will capture this knight. And now we will focus on the queen side, like with moves like rook a to c1. Maybe this is also interesting here. Knight e5, it needs to be calculated because sooner or later we want to put our knight here on d4. So we go back once again and we are studying what I believe is far more important, ideas instead of memorizing everything. So once again, there are plans with knight c4 and plans with knight c6. If somebody wants to reach perfection, I also include, of course, concrete theory. Yes, the best moves according to the computer and according to my understanding. So rook c8, bishop d3 or knight f3 are both very good. Let's say I choose knight f3. He goes e6, bishop d3. And now he plays b5. Yes, this is a very possible idea. We need to play a3. And he jumps knight c4. Usually these plans with knight c4 occur together with a move b5. Now look, we have very interesting ideas here. We castle. We play a move like knight e5, maybe even h3 first. So he castles. Sooner or later, we need to withdraw our queen. Let's say I play this. It appears to be more accurate. He castles. And queen e2. We cannot stay across his rook for too long. So we need to go away. Queen e2. And now black plays a move like a6. Our plan is to play the wonderful, amazing idea of a4. Let me give an example. Let's suppose he plays such a move. What is our plan? Our plan is to dislocate this knight from c4, to force it to go away. So our plan is this. Look here. And for example, b4, we go to b1. We are already familiar with such an idea. Black now needs to take. We take always with a bishop. We need to be very careful. I don't like this move at all here. We take with a bishop. Let's say he plays a move like this. And now here we can even play a5. Let's say he plays a move like this. I will consider this for a second, but what is the natural idea? Of course, everybody, I believe, can tell us now. What is the natural move and plan? Knight d2, of course, for example, here, and the knight is going to this ideal square. And now we have very nice ideas with bishop b5. For example, I play a random move. Actually, there aren't many logical moves for black here. Look, this is a very strong plan. And in case he takes, we take with a pawn or with a queen. It's a matter of calculation. And here, black will lose very fast because this a5 pawn is dropping. Sometimes we play bishop b5. Sometimes we can even start with this move first. Which one is better? It's a matter of calculation. And now we go here. Look at this line, which occurs quite often. Take a4 here, and the b pawn, strangely enough, is promoting. For example, here, take, this pawn is promoting. This type of position, this type of variation occurs several times. Let's go back once again. We are here. We explained that these moves are more or less forced. And now we are talking about lines with knight c4 or lines with now knight c6. So let's suppose he starts with this move. Bishop d3 is good, knight f3 is good. Let's say I tried this one. Let's say I play here. He goes e6, I play knight f3. Let's suppose he plays this move. Now, knight e5 is interesting. Maybe this is becoming a threat little by little. I will think about this move, h3, just to get done with this knight h5 stories. And of course, if I play h3 and he goes here, now I'm keeping the bishop. I will play here. So a choice between two moves, either h3 or castle short. Let's suppose I play h3. He goes back, threatening knight b4. I play a3. Castles, castles, and here we are in this type of position under very strange move orders, very unusual. We reach the passive e6 type of play. For example, what happens after b5? We all know by now, I believe. So what will white play? Either immediately or after a couple of moves, white will play a4, of course. And for example, here, this is coming here. This is already winning. No, it's not winning. So knight bd2, once again, the knight is coming here and black is under pressure. Very good. So bishop g4 or bishop f5 is exactly the same. For example, bishop f5, queen b3, pretty much only move, check, here, here. I try this move, bishop d3 or knight f3. So I go here. Now look at something else. He plays this move. This move here is generally a mistake. If black wants to play knight c4, he needs to start with b5 first, forcing a3, and now knight c4. And if I take it, he has to take with this pawn, as we will see. Let's see what happens if after knight f3, black plays this careless move. I repeat, it's either b5 and knight c4 or not at all knight c4. So look here, a very nice idea is this. And now black is facing a dilemma. Both moves have problems. If he takes with a pawn, then we castle. And after e6, we totally change plan. White will play, of course, e4. And very soon he will play d5, getting passed pawn, a central passed pawn, and a big advantage. And what happens if black takes with the rook? We are already familiar with this type of game. Our play all of a sudden will focus on the queen side. So who will tell us here? I wonder what is the theory? One move is, of course, short castle, but what is the second move for white here? Who can tell us? Try to guess the theory. Who can tell us what is? So first move is short castle, and of course the second move is queen b3 here. This is the second move, putting pressure on the queen side. For example, here, once again, we castle. Yes, if here, we can even abandon the bishop, but most likely we will put it here. And if e6, I will consider to take here, of course, and I will consider to play this move, rook f to c1. Already there are big problems here. For example, I have this idea. Look, black is in trouble. For example, here I take it. He has to take with the pawn, and then we take it, and probably knight a4. So once again, white has a small but stable advantage with this, at least a small, with this typical play on the queen side. So here, take, knight e5, queen b3, all castle short, here, and e6, h3 is also playable. Maybe even this move is playable. Here, maybe even this move. For example, bishop here, knight, rook f to c1, he castles, and probably it's a good moment to take here. Look, he cannot just take with the rook. This needs to be calculated, of course, but I would probably take this pawn and take this pawn also, yes? And here we are a pawn up for no good reason. I mean, black lost the pawn for no good reason. Here, let's say I play this move, and thank you very much. We simply won a pawn. So here he needs to take with the b pawn, and now we will consider the typical ideas to fix this pawn on c6. We will play either knight a4, or of course consider even this move, taking here a knight a4. Possibly knight a4 is the move. For example, here, take, and now we may consider this immediately, or I don't know, another move like queen d3 or rook c2, let's say. Maybe he has this, but no. Here again, he will lose a pawn. So white has a very nice advantage, risk-free advantage. So here we are. And now it's a good moment to check some games in this line. So let's check this game between Andreas Kirliris, very famous young player. I told you yesterday about him. He became a grandmaster under my guidance by the age of 17, but of course he was very talented and hardworking. So, and his opponent is Sturt Raven with a rating of 23.05. This game was played 10 years ago. White has a rating of 2087 only. He was very young at that time. So bishop f4, here, e3 is the correct move order. The knight is coming here, bishop f5. Now, queen b3 and bishop b5. Somebody may ask, is there something wrong with this move? Only one thing, it tends to be a little bit drawish, nothing else. It's totally playable, yes? And if here, maybe bishop b5, it's totally playable. Somebody may ask, is there something wrong with this move? Absolutely nothing wrong. You can always play like that, and then it will be impossible for your opponents to prepare completely. I mean, you can memorize the best move, but also you cannot be a free spirit. Play rook c1 and develop the pieces. Yes, this is also playable. What is the only problem? By computer standards, it tends to be a bit equal if black plays very well. That's the only problem with the move rook c1. Yes. How about this move? No, this tends to be very drawish. I do not suggest that you play this move. So the best move is queen b3, knight a5, queen a4 check, and let's check this game. Here, bishop d3 or knight f3. So knight f3 and black played here. Yes, this is a clear mistake. White takes it. If black is to play knight c4, he needs to play, let me repeat myself, b5, a3 and knight c4, but this time we won't take it. This time we play like this and follow the typical theory here, the typical ideas here, intending a4. Can black take here? The answer is no. Surprisingly, black is losing a pawn, as we will see if he takes here. So let's check what happened in this game. Rook c8, knight f3. Knight c4 without b5 is risky. Let's take it. If here castle and e4 d5 is coming with an advantage for white. So rook takes here, and queen b3. Typical position with a strong queenside play without our light square bishop. Black played queen b6, which is not a good move, in fact. If he plays this, yes. Here, obviously, this is winning maybe this is winning a pawn, as it seems, but let's say we castle, we play safe. Even this is good. For example, e6, I see two good moves for white here. Two moves to consider. One move is definitely rook f to c1. And what is the other move, please? Maybe there are even better, more choices than just two. So what would you suggest here? You see, it's not important to memorize everything. So I see rook f to c1. h3 is not necessary, of course. It's a big waste of time. We need to attack on the queen side. So one idea is a4, intending a5. Another idea, and possibly the best move, is rook f to c1. But look at this idea. Maybe this is also possible. Here, look, this appears to be also very interesting. For example, if he takes, queen takes, here, of course, we do not exchange queens like that. We play here. We are threatening to win with knight takes d7, and this is winning. For example, here we take, check, here, I give this check. And even if he is not losing by force, no, he is losing by force. Yes, we win a pawn and we win the game. So don't waste time with h3. Here, let's attack rook f to c1. I don't believe black is in time for such details like this. Yes, he is seriously lagging in development. Now we will play here. And we are threatening there. For example, here, this appears to be very good. Look, we can afford to play such moves, of course, because we have developed our pieces. Black is undeveloped. So here, and I don't believe black will survive for too long. For sure, he will lose at least one pawn. So this type of attack, memorize it. We got similar positions out of various move orders. So much more important than theory. Let's see what happened here. After queen b3, black played queen b6, and white took on d7 because this is winning a pawn. And this is the best move. Knight takes, if king takes, then knight takes d5. Queen takes b3, check, and here white is winning a pawn. For example, we are threatening this a7. For example, if here, things are not so clear here. What is happening? Maybe white would simply take, I don't know, or play this check. I'm not so sure after knight takes d5 how simple this is. However, if we assume that this, which is not the best move, this is played, so how should white consolidate here? What do you think? White to play and consolidate. Very good. King d2, and the king is soon coming to d3, controlling all the squares along the c line, and then consolidating and winning. Very good. So after queen b3, queen b6, this move was played, knight takes d7, knight takes, and white won a pawn with very little compensation. Here, very little compensation. He calculated this move, he won 2 pawns in the end, and he won this game without much trouble. Let's check another game now. Oh yes, a very nice game by Grandmaster Pavel Tregupov against another Grandmaster Yevseyev. So let's check, take, bishop here, e3, knight f6, knight c3, bishop f5, queen is coming to b3, check, here, queen c2, e6, 2 playable moves, knight f3 and bishop d3, both are good. Here, black can play knight c6, bishop e7, rook c8. Let's suppose he plays this. Look, let's check. Here, we play a3, and here, what is happening now? Look, this is again playable, totally playable, because we are threatening also g4, but also this is playable, as we will see. Look at this strange move. This is an exception to the rule, and if he takes, we take, we are threatening this, and look, once again, who can find the best move for white here? I would say knight f3 is good enough, maybe for a very small advantage, but we can do better than that. Who will tell us what white should play? It's too early for a move like bishop b5 because the e5 square is not weak. So the correct move this time is f4. Wonderful move. First f4 and then knight f3. For example, here we can play knight f3. The computer likes this move even better, this idea even better. And for example, here knight f3, white has a big advantage. Let's say here we can play this or this move. The computer also likes this king f2 idea, and black is under a lot of pressure. If he dares to castle, such moves are coming. And if here g4 is a matter of time. So again, black is in trouble. This is a wonderful idea. I was fascinated many years ago when I discovered this idea. And then I checked, and unfortunately it had been played already, but the computers of the past wouldn't recognize this move. They would call these positions equal, but by human standards, they are not at all equal. So let's see what happened here. So bishop d3, lines with knight c4, lines with knight c6. So rook c8, knight f3. Now, three possible moves, let's say, 1, 2, 3. b5, knight c4, bishop e7. Let's focus on these three moves. b5, knight c4, bishop e7. What to play in each one of them? b5, knight c4, bishop e7. I will give the answer. After b5, which was played in the game, a3, of course. And now if he comes here, we don't take it. After knight c4, I don't like the fact that we have played one move with a bishop here and then we want to take it, but I would consider taking on c4. This is also totally playable, but I would consider taking here. And if rook takes, we go knight e5 and we go queen b3. This time after queen b6, we need to take it and we are only very slightly better. Maybe the best move here is not to take on c4. So, and in case of bishop e7, we can either castle short or play a move like h3. For example, let's castle short. Look, he goes knight h5, we play here. He goes knight c6, we play a3. He plays, let's say, a move like h6 or knight f6. Time to go, queen e2. He castles, and now a move like h3, rook a to c1, and such ideas. For example, rook a to c1. And if he takes, I can take with a pawn, or I can follow with this strategy, an f4. Or I can continue with this strategy, rook c2, and double the rooks here. All these lines are playable, offering, of course, not a winning position. There is no such a thing in chess unless black goes totally wrong. And all these lines are playable. Let's check what happened in this game. b5, a3. For more concrete theory, you will receive the PGN. For the moment, it's not wise to go through concrete lines until the end and exhaust them. It's far more important to understand the ideas. So bishop here, we can castle short or play knight e5. He played here. We can castle short or play queen e2. Sooner or later, we need to unpin the queen. So here, castles, castles. And this is a typical idea. This is a typical position. Who will tell us what is white's next move? Let's suppose that black plays here. We have already mentioned that. The idea is a4. So a4, we want to take it. Look, if he plays here, he is in trouble. We take, and we win a pawn like that. Look, take here, and b3. Look at this move. If the knight goes to d6 or to a3, we win this b5 pawn. Yes, if he goes here, he is losing a pawn. And what happens if he takes here? First of all, here maybe we can even take. But look, there is this trick always. Take, and take here. Very good. So black is really in trouble. He cannot afford to play such moves. This move has been played, yes, but a4, again, black is under pressure. For example, takes with, b4, we go back, and he takes here. No, we don't take with the pawn here, always with the bishop. For example, a4, knight bd2, and knight b3. Let's see what happened in this game. So in this game, black took here, And this is losing a pawn for black. Look, white takes, and knight takes b5. And now by force, a7 pawn is lost. So he played here, black played here. But even if he takes, bishop takes, the queen has to go to d8. This is not possible, bishop h6 here, and we win a pawn. Strangely enough, the computer doesn't give a huge advantage to white here. It gives only a, let's say, considerable advantage. I understand this way of thinking because our extra pawn is not easy to be pushed, but nobody will choose such a position with black voluntarily, you know, or it will come only after a mistake. So here we are better and we continue playing. And this is in fact what they got in the game. White won a pawn like this, here, and b3. Very good move, b3. Bishop d6 was played, and white is a nice extra pawn up. g3, very good move. Please note this move, g3. Black doesn't have a light square bishop, so we are not afraid to play g3. And permanently blocking this bishop, white had huge advantage, and he won in the end. So here, let's check another very good game, this game between Sipos and El Tigani, if I read the names correctly. So queen b3 and check, and here knight f3 is playable, bishop d3 is playable. They played like this, plans with knight c4, here a3. Here, now we don't take it, knight f3. e6, we castle, bishop here. So here we are. Who will tell us what white can play here? What do you think? I see two good moves, maybe even three. So one move is, of course, queen e2, and another move is knight e5. Yes, knight e5, queen e2. This is playable, but maybe a bit slow, this h3. White played another move, rook f to c1. This appears to me to be a bit less good, but they played like that. Anyway, he takes, bishop takes here. There is no time for d e5 and such luxuries. We need to have active pieces. h6, because this there is an annoying threat to take on f6 and on h7. So finally, white played the move queen e2. This move will definitely be played. And now look, a6. Now look, I am very impressed by white's play. In fact, immediately white reached a totally winning position. Look what he did. He played a4. Black naturally played b4. Maybe he should have castle short and lose a pawn. He played here, and look what happened now. a4, and we have already met this idea, sacrificing some material in order to get past pawns. He took here. This is a very strong move. Here, bishop takes, and rook takes c3. Look, we have, it's not even a sacrifice. We have rook and two pawns for two pieces. And black now doesn't really have a plan. We have very clear plan, push our past pawns. So here, queen c2, here because rook c7 is coming, and some details, and in the end, b4, white started pushing the pawns. They cannot be blocked, but only with some sacrifices. And here, and he won the exchange and he won the game. That was a lovely, really lovely game by white, although I do not totally agree with how he played in the opening. Let's check now. Okay, we will study only one last game. Only one last game. This is a bleach game by young FIDE master, very good player, Papasimakopoulos Alexandros. Bleach game against Baklan Esat. Let's check. So nice and easy line. We get away of all the huge theories of the Slav and semi-Slav, and we get nice, slightly or a lot more comfortable positions with free, with small risk. So knight f3 was chosen, e6. Now bishop d3 is playable, h3 is playable. h3. I don't mind playing this move. Let's check once again. Here, a3, here, bishop e5. And there is some theory like this, f6, bishop here. Sorry, it starts like this, bishop e7, we castle, and now it goes like this, f6, here, f5, and now white can play moves like this, queen here, for example, and black can take or play knight f6. There are such ideas, but we don't really need to memorize anything. We can play this move, we can play even this move, knight e5 is normal, and which one is the best? In my view, this move is the best, and we focus on the queen side. For example, he castles and b4. So we have a nice, small, maybe even big advantage. White chose h3. I would have played bishop d3 maybe. So a6, bishop d3. This a6 appears to be maybe a waste of time. b5, this time we transpose to this line. And bishop e7, castles, knight e5, regular stuff, knight c4. I believe by now we are all able to tell what is the best move for white here. Please tell me fast the correct idea for white. It's queen e2. So knight d6 and a4. Quite, and now we are threatening to take on d7, of course, and win a pawn. So black played here. Yes, these positions are playable, but usually very bad for black. We can either take here, maybe take on a6. So he played b4. Knight is coming here. Knight is coming to d2. It is true that this knight is quite stable here on d6, defending important squares, but the same and even more can be said about the knight on b3. So here black played this, f3 is normal here, knight c5, white had a big advantage, and in the end, he won the game, and you will study these games in the game session. So here we go now. Save, yes, okay. Now I go back once again, and here we are. We will see the main line of the main line of the main line of the Slav exchange. So after e3, we commented on the weak move e6, weak move g6, bishop f5 or bishop g4. We just studied it. We have, especially after bishop f5, two ways to play. Queen b3 is the main line. Bishop b5 is totally playable. After this, we have again two ways to play. Queen b3 is the main line, the same with bishop f5, queen b3. But f3 is also playable, out of book, f3 and g4, h4. And finally, we are here in this move, a6. In my view, this is clearly the best move here, stopping any knight b5 ideas, which are very rare anyway. This is not the biggest point. The point is that this is a useful waiting move, and at many moments, black can go for b5. So here, white has 2 or 3 ways to play. For example, I chose this move, bishop d3. I don't really like this move. If you were here on Wednesday and you saw the lectures, you will be able to tell how black should play and be around equal. What do you think black should play here? What do you think? In this slightly premature position. Very good. I am happy that you are learning very well. This is the best move, bishop g4. For example, here, like bishop d3 is pointless here. There is no attack against the king. With the bishop on g4, there is no attack against the king. So we can play here, but now this move is quite solid for black, and even e6 immediately is quite solid. So here you see we don't have the freedom to play such moves. Immediately we exchange pieces. That's why knight f3, I cannot say it's a mistake, and it might even be the computer's first choice, for example, because it calculates something. But this doesn't mean absolutely anything in human standards. So knight f3 is slightly less good. Bishop d3 is, in my view, a very good move, but there are other 2 playable moves. One interesting move is this, rare but playable. The idea is to wait for bishop f5 and then we go knight f3. And of course, who will tell us what is another playable move beyond any doubt? always acceptable rook c1 move. So you see, this is playable. Black, please, I would like you to tell me one good move for black and two bad moves for black. Bad moves, I don't mean rook a7 or queen c7. Strategically bad moves. Tell me fast. Good move for black, possibly the only good move for black here, and two bad moves. Very good. The good move is bishop f5, and the bad moves are e6 and which other move? g6. Very good. After g6, by the way, we will play h3 now. Yes, we can afford to play h3. Here, let me come back to that. Knight f3. He plays this. I will consider knight takes b5, but a2 is also hanging. No, thank you. I just castle here. And now I either play a4 immediately, as we already know, or prepare it with a move like this and later play a4. Let's get back. Now, a6, this is the best move. And what do you think is the theory here? What do you think black is, again, his only good move here? There is only one good move for black here. What do you think? It has to be this move. Otherwise, black is simply much worse. The move is, of course, bishop g4. Like if it was, for example, if he plays this, which will not happen, what do you think white will play here? White has a very nice move with a big advantage. The move is this scientific move. Now, black has no way to develop this bishop, and he has to play such a move with e6 or g6. So now let's see the best moves. Bishop d3, a6, bishop d3, and bishop g4. Yes, this is a playable position. The Slav is not losing for black. It's not worse by force. We play knight g2. And our plan is generally, let me show the plan by only moving for white. In fact, our plan is to play rook c1 or castle short. We castle short. And then we play moves like a3, b4. In the meanwhile, black will castle short. So here, b4 and knight a4, or knight a4 first, and then b4 and knight c5. And if he goes here to do this, we can continue our play like this, or we would like to activate this knight. Look, quite often we see this idea, and he goes here, and we activate this knight by knight f4 and take here. And there is good play on the queen side. Let's see it now with logical moves. So bishop d3, if they here and here, I repeat, if they tell me play again, I play rook c1, castle short, a3, knight a4, b4, knight c5, moves like bishop g3 and knight f4. So e6 is the move. Let me delete this line. So e6 is the move, and now castle short or rook c1 are equally good. We play rook c1. Yes, rook c1. And black can play either bishop d6 or bishop e7, or a move like rook c8. How about this move? After this move, he is clearly threatening to take on e4, forcing us to play e takes e4. We don't want to do that. We do not allow black to do that. We do not want to take e takes f4. The move is f3. And we are almost winning here. Yes, g5 here, white is much better. So we go, there is no knight h5. This move, bishop d6, totally playable. Black is threatening once again to take on f4, forcing us to take with the pawn. We play f3. Other moves are playable too. We can even take here. This is also playable. But f3, here we castle. He castles, and here is the position with typical play. We can play a3 or knight a4. Let's check. Once again, this is not a matter of theory. Let's say we play knight a4. We want to postpone taking on d6. Look at this. Black, when the bishops are staring each other, black cannot play knight d7 because his bishop is dropping. So the correct idea is knight a4 here without taking on d6. If black wants to play knight d7, he needs to take on f4 first, but then we take with a knight and we are coming very fast. So let's check now. For example, bishop g6. What is the theory here? There is no theory. There are only typical ideas. So here we can play knight c5, or we can take a knight c5. And here, our plan, sometimes, rarely, you can even see this move, sometimes, rarely. Intending bishop d6, black goes here, and maybe a move like this or like this. But generally, I prefer to take with the rook. So our plan is to add pressure along the c line. For example, take, knight c5, he takes here, rook takes, and here we ignore this rook. We can play, for example, queen d2, he takes it, we take with the knight, and we put some pressure. Here, the knight is coming to d3, we continue with b4, a4, a small but nice initiative. So our plan is not to make a draw, our plan is to play a risk-free game. Another playable move here after knight a4. Black can play several moves. He can play rook c8 or something. Instead of knight a4, what can we play? Also a3. a3, usually we don't play a3 before, but a3, knight a4. Okay, this is one example. The play is very similar in all other moves. Either bishop d6, bishop e7, or taking on e2. For example, bishop takes e2, very similar stuff. Queen takes e2, and he goes bishop d6. Now, surprisingly, sooner or later, the dark square bishops will be exchanged. I would have played bishop g5 in order to gain some time before exchanging dark square bishops. However, let's check on this position. Again, white has a small, nice initiative, knight d7 and knight c5 or rook c3. We put the pieces here. He played g6 because this is always hanging with such moves. So here, and one type of position is this one. We occupy the c line, and we have bishop, light square bishop against knight. Another type of position is we occupy the c line and we have dark square bishop against knight. And the third type of position is that we occupy the c line and we have knight on d3 against knight. All these three types of game are good and slightly better for white. Don't forget here, there is always the idea of taking on a6. Do not forget this idea. Yes, for example, here and here and b4. Black doesn't have what to do, and we have very strong compensation even if we are not winning by force. So taking on a6 should be considered, but also such a move. Here, I need to play a move like h3 or g3. How do they call this? Escape square or something. So h3, should I play this? f4? No, this is attacking nowhere. This is weaknesses here. We don't have any kind of attack. I should play this. How about this move? This might be playable. And this is also playable. h3. So let's suppose he opposes his rooks, but our plan this time is to capture either with the b or with the c pawn. For example, look, I can play this or this here, and he takes it. And now I can take with the b pawn, and this time start pressurizing this point here, and queen b3. And there is, of course, a long game ahead with good chances for white. Queen b3, maybe queen b6 at some moment. We are doing very well. So after rook c1, we are studying. Let's go back. How did we get here? a6, the main line, bishop d3. Bishop g4, the best move, knight g2. Black plays e6. Again, it's by far a matter of ideas rather than concrete theory. We play rook c1 or castle short, and now moves like bishop d6, bishop e7, bishop takes e2, rook c8, or this idea, they will lead to the same type of positions. For example, he goes here. Who will suggest one or two moves here? Of course, we can castle short, or we can play this move, bishop g3. I would have castled short, and he goes bishop g6, and now several playable moves. Who will suggest? Shall I play this by myself? No, I don't see any need for that. We can play this move, but then he will take on d3 before we go knight f4. So we must use the other plans. I see two good moves for white here. Knight a4 or a3. Knight a4, let's be a little bit more aggressive because he's taking too much time. So he takes here, queen takes, let's say, knight d7. What do you think white should play here? Now black lost some time. I would consider even e4 here, but what is the correct move? The correct move is this, a3. Here, b4, he castles, maybe a move like rook c3, maybe even this. Look at this plan, he takes it. We will consider also this move. This is also interesting here to be considered, or just take with a pawn, and then we focus, we put our pieces on the b line. Rook b1 is very annoying on the next move. So that's the way to play. He castles here. Of course, after, instead of castling, we can even play this move. Yes, and the idea is after bishop g6 to put this knight here. For example, he takes it, we take it, bishop d3. Let's say we castle, or we take this bishop, we castle, he castles, knight a4 here, and maybe a3, maybe b4. What is the most accurate move here? For example, this is very strong now, because if he takes on c5, d5 and knight b6. Yes. So what we are studying here is what you will face, exactly what you will face in the game. Typical ideas, not concrete theory memorizing anything. For example, one opponent may play this here. One opponent may play h6. Yes. Shall we memorize everything? Of course not. So here, a move like knight c5, maybe he takes. I will consider taking with the rook, but possibly with the knight I will take. Here, I may consider queen b3 or a move like b4. It's not easy for black to get rid of the pressure, and we have good chances. It's a risk-free game. Let's check now some games once again in this line. So here we go. This is a game, again, played by young, now Grandmaster, Andreas Keliris. It was played in 2015 when he was playing for his Grandmaster norms. So this is a game against Nguyen Hung Minh Hui, very good player with 25-11 rating at that time. Let's check. Knight c3 here, e3, a6, bishop d3, bishop g4, knight g2, e6, rook c1 is playable, castling short is playable. So here, black can play rook c8, bishop d6, bishop e7, it doesn't make much difference. Black cannot play this because of f3, if you remember. And if he plays this threatening to take on f4, we either take on d6 or play f3. So generally speaking, this is some important, very important thing to say. Generally speaking, if we can avoid the move f3, we prefer to avoid it generally. If we can avoid, we prefer to have the pawn on f2. Let's consider, for example, this is an interesting idea. Possibly I have to play f3, or we can even take, this has been played also several times, and queen b3 here. So generally speaking, let's say we are here and we play a game with logical moves. Now, we know what will happen. We will reach a position with taking the C line and a light square bishop against a knight. So look, with very logical move, I reach this thing. We prefer this position, but not with the pawn here, because this pawn here is softening our defenses, and at any moment, black may find some counterplay with e5 or something. However, we cannot always avoid this f3 move. So here, if it was white to move, for example, here, we need to play either g3 or h3, such a move. G3, let's say. Okay, maybe even this is playable. This is another, of course, very important idea. And in the end, we start pushing b4, a4, and all this. But we will never play this f3 move unless the queens are exchanged, of course. So here, again, white is better. This is not at all equal. This is much better for white. So rook c1, let's check how they played. Bishop e7. I repeat, the strange thing is that no matter what black plays here, in this position, bishop here, rook c8, bishop takes on e2. Again, in the end, we will reach this possible type of positions. Look, for example, here, in the end, we will reach light square bishop on d3 against a knight. And of course, we occupy the C line. So let's say here, castles, h6, bishop here, bishop e2. Shall I play f4 now? No, there is no knight to be put on e5. It's not time for f4. What shall I play? Either a3 intending knight a4, or maybe a4 immediately. Let's suppose I play a3. He goes back, look, I take it, or I play here, but I cannot keep the bishops forever. So I will exchange them. And then I prefer to exchange them here. Then we go knight a4, for example, here. And once again, we reach the same type of game. We will consider b4, and we will consider this take, here. I open a window, as we say in Greek, a window, and then I will consider such an idea, of course, if this rook moves away, and if here we play b4, and if here we will consider rook takes c5, d takes c5, and b takes c5. All these moves are playable. Look, here, I put my pieces like this, I play a move like g3, and we combine pressure here, and maybe later one attack on the king side. Maybe now I will consider this move. Black is lacking active counterplay. Little by little, we will try to attack on the king side. Let's see how they played in this game, these two good players. So for sure they reached one type of these possibilities: occupy the C line with and then dark square bishop, or knight against knight, or light square bishop against knight. So which is the one is the biggest advantage? I would say light square bishop against knight. So a3 was played, very natural. Bishop h5, two good moves for white. Who will tell us? Two good moves for white. Shall I play f3? No, I'm not forced to play f3. I don't play f3. So two good moves, please. Very good. One is knight a4, and the other one is bishop g3. Which one is the best here? Nobody can tell for sure. Why? Because the transpositions are countless. So in this game, white chose knight a4, knight d7, and b4. Black played here, knight c5, take, b takes, and white was slightly better, but nothing much happened. Soon there is some pressure here, but soon black with correct moves managed to neutralize the advantage. You see, now our problem is that our knight on e2 is inactive. And it takes time to activate this knight. And in this time, black will consolidate. So this is the game. And then let's check another game, an amazing game from the same tournament. Again, with the white pieces is this young player, Keliris Andreas, and with black, it's Havashi Gergo, with a rating of 2330. So in the same tournament, they reached the same position. Here, e6, rook here, bishop e7, bishop d6, rook c8, doesn't really matter. It will come down to the same position. So castles, and previously white played a3. Now he started with bishop g3. One move to avoid is this, f3. We play this only when it is necessary. So bishop g3 was played, bishop here, and knight a4, knight d7, a3, and b4 is coming. And you can guess what white played here. What did white play here? He played, of course, that's why he played bishop g3 in order to continue with knight f4. The question is now, black took. The question is, if, for example, black plays here. Here is the question. White has two possibilities. Bishop takes g6 and knight d3. Yes, this idea. Take, and knight d3. And then our knight sooner or later will come to c5. Which knight? We need to calculate. Yes. So this is one possibility. And also these double pawns on the G line are a long-term problem for black, these pawns here. But there is another possibility, instead of taking with the bishop, to take with the knight. This is also acceptable. And b4. Yes. Which one to choose? Probably I would have taken with the bishop. But here too, white appears to be doing very well. So we check the game now. Bishop g6, knight f4. Bishop takes, knight takes, a serious improvement. It's far better to have a knight on d3 rather than imagine a queen on d3 and a knight on e2. So here, and what is another good thing for white? He hasn't played f3. So he played b4. The computer says that this is even better. Look at this move. Take, d takes c5, threatening knight b6. This is another typical idea. And if here, in order after knight b6 to play rook c6 or some rook takes c5, so this is a big advantage for white, according to the computer. Look, black can hardly move. But white played b4. Here, he took, oh no, he didn't take. He took like this and knight c4, but he soon exchanged this knight. Let's check. He exchanged this knight, and again he is better. Now, what will happen? White will combine pressure on the B line and a very long-term slow play on the king side. This is what he did. Here, it's not easy for black to put his knight on c4, and this knight on c4 may end up irrelevant. So they played back and forth for many moves. Here, yes, back and forth. f3, finally, h4. White chose the moment to play f3. And after many moves, he started pushing the pawns, h5, an amazing performance. He played here, and soon he occupied, he combined threats, in fact, and he managed to occupy after a while the h line, and then the game was over. Actually, instead of occupying, he gave checkmate. In some possible variations, he would occupy the h line. Now we check one or two other games. Let's check this game by Grandmaster Cvitan. This was played in 2014. So e3, knight c3, bishop here, bishop here. Black chose this move. White castled short. This would also have been possible. Here, knight f4. White chose this. You see, did white know exactly theory first to castle, then play rook c1? No, it's absolutely not necessary. Plans are far more important. So here he played rook c1, and here he played knight a4. What is good about his position? He didn't play f3. So takes, here, he took here, he played knight c5, and look at this wonderful idea. I really like it. He could have played something like this, of course, and he knows it, like this, double on the c line, and try to improve this knight and put it here after some moves. But look what he did. After rook a7, he continued with this sacrifice, which we have already met several times. Even Kramnik made this sacrifice in his game against Aronian, yes, in some version of this line. So here, and he played knight c3, threatening this. Of course, he calculated a lot. And here he gave this check. This is totally winning. Let's comment on this position. Let's comment on this position for a while. So this position is a huge advantage for white, and white would even prefer to exchange one pair of rooks. Then black is totally helpless. At most, he can block the pawns for some time, but then white may start playing also on the king side. So here, this is a huge advantage for white. Only one thing is dangerous. Black has two knights, and we need to be careful because the knights are tricky. So here, again, white is much better in this endgame. Yes, they played like that, and white played here. He won very soon. He won some extra material. Look, black is helpless. This is coming, even if we cannot win this knight on d8. So, of course, you will study this game at home, and you will spend more time on it. Yes, now we cannot. How much time should we spend on each game that we study at home? I would say from half an hour to 1 hour. That would have been ideal. Around half an hour is good. 10 minutes, 5 minutes, it's not good. Around half an hour. Let's say 20 minutes at the very least, 20 minutes. And take my advice. One game, we studied each game 2 times at least. Not 20 minutes each time or half an hour each time. One time we studied for half an hour, let's say, and after some days, we studied again for a few minutes, after 1 or 2 days. It is very important. Never study a game only 1 time. You need to study 2 times or preferably 3. So let's check now. I really like these games by Grandmaster Ivanov. Just a second. So what is happening? Let me click here. So here, Grandmaster Ivanov Sergey is playing 2 wonderful, amazing performances, which are not a matter of theory, but a matter of great endgame technique. So here he castles. I have 2 games like this. He takes and rook c1. He avoids, of course, the move f3 if it is possible. And here he immediately jumps knight a4. Let's check. And queen b3. Yes, this idea you can find sometimes. Let's say this position is a little bit more concrete. So here and knight c5, a little bit more concrete to get here. So here he plays this. And what is wrong with knight f4? Be very careful. After knight f4 with the queen on d6, black can take it. So be careful about this typical trick. Here he takes it, queen takes, castles, knight f4. Little by little, this knight is heading for d3. And look what an amazing endgame he won. You need to memorize. He took surprisingly with the queen. You need to memorize this 100%. Look what an endgame he won. He won this endgame and b5. This is very typical. This is how one should play chess. Not focus only on theory. We are going out of theory sooner or later. So with perfect play, this endgame is a draw, but we need to follow his amazing technique here and g4. Around here, the computer says that white is winning. After these g6 inaccuracies, and here h4, white, in fact, won this position without trouble. If black takes on e4, then f takes on e4, and soon white will create a passed pawn with d5. And what happened next? White moved his knight and played king f4. The path is open. King f4, king e5, trying to enter. So here he played knight d3, takes, and here, yes, this is losing, and everything starts losing now. King e7, king f4, yes. You will see that also on the queen's gambit, we will choose some lines that will lead to endgames whenever it is possible. It is very good to have in your repertory some lines which very fast lead to an endgame. This is a good way to become a better endgame player. And they are no less ambitious. They are equally ambitious. If you become a good player little by little, then you will be winning effortlessly all these small advantages like this one. So here white won, and another wonderful performance by the same player was this one. I was really amazed by how he played here against Blomqvist. Let's check. Knight c3, knight c6 here, bishop d3, yes, here e6. Again, he castles, he doesn't prefer rook c1. So bishop d6, f3, he played it, he cannot avoid it this time. Here, he took here. Now in this position, knight a4 is even better. Anyway, he took here, or these, and obviously he likes to play these queen b3 ideas. All these moves they have less value now. What matters is endgame technique. White manages now to make intense play on the queen side, and black's problem is now this bishop that is out of play. Let me correct the board a little bit, just a second. There is some problem with the board, so I correct it. Okay, so here we are. Bishop g6 was played, and look at this amazing combination. Knight c5, knight takes c5, and knight b6. Is this winning material? No, it is not. It just gets a huge positional advantage. He takes here. There is this intermediate move. White saw it in advance, and he goes back, and black is simply lost. White comes to c7 with his rook, and you see the problem now. The problem is this one, this bishop, which was isolated on the king side. Black lost the chance to capture some white piece. A knight, a bishop doesn't matter. And this bishop was isolated, and soon white won a pawn. And then, without allowing any counterplay, he won the game. And now that we are approaching the end, let's check this game between two superstars, Artur Yusupov and Vishy Anand, a young Vishy Anand. This game was played in 1992. So this is an ideal position to play against Anand, because you don't want to play a lot of complications, and you don't want to play very intensive theory, with novelties and all this. Just simple and quiet positions. So castles, Yusupov played a3. He played here. I am a little bit surprised by this move b5. So here, take, knight d7. Black, Anand had something concrete in his mind, this move. And look, I really like how they played. Takes. And black played d4. Yes, very deep calculation by both players. Black played d4. And look what happened now. Bishop takes, knight d4. This appears to be very equal. For example, bishop takes d4, queen takes d4 is completely equal. But white had a different opinion. He played here, and he's better, in fact. He took here very, very deep calculation and knowledge. Very, very deep calculation. So here, white has chances because the bishop is clearly better than the knight, and because this b5 move, this pawn should have been here now. This b5 move, we have already met this typical idea. b5 weakens a whole complex of squares. Now, c5 is weak, c6 is weak, b6 is weak, the a pawn is weak. And white played in a wonderful fashion this move, very, very strong move to keep the advantage. And look, takes, and rook c1. You can find this position also in some books. If white takes, then black has a fortress. Knight takes, and knight is coming to c6, and he has a fortress. But white spotted this wonderful available c6 square, and he played here, and now it is very difficult for black to free himself. White had again an advantage, and in the end, he managed to win. So with this game, I believe we covered up to a very good extent the Slav exchange variation, which is a wonderful opening to play with white. You can even start playing it today or even yesterday. I mean, because you just need to know a few ideas. You can always alter variations, and you can always play simpler moves, but just keeping the basic ideas and the basic typical positions in your head. I could now, for a couple of minutes, answer fast one or two chess questions related to the Slav defense, for example, or anything else. And then I will see you all after half an hour. So the Slav exchange is quite often connected with the endgame. We don't want to play a very complicated position. Quite often black gets checkmated in the middle game, especially if he chooses a less favorable variation. So the Slav defense is a good way to play for a win without risk. So in that case, I would like to thank you all for your participation. I will see you in half an hour. After half an hour, now we will study the Queen's Gambit from White's perspective. Thank you all very much and see you soon. There is one more question. If there are plans with f3 and g4 in the Slav exchange, there are plans. They are maybe not the best. They are a bit risky, but there are. We have already mentioned it, this f3, g4 in some positions. Bye for now. See you all soon. Bye-bye. Take care.